Kia ora koutou. That's right. Yet again, we're keeping up with another lesson for Māori. Oh my god, wow. I can't believe I'm keeping up with this either. I think this is the fourth video now. But yeah, today we're going to be looking at the particle kua, which thankfully, this is actually a lot shorter of a video. But who knows, maybe I'll ramble on long enough to make it to the 10-minute mark. But anyways, let's get to it. Okay, now then, for the first and primary usage of the particle kua, we have it to denote specifically the. Let me move myself out of the way a little bit. I'm a bit in the way, aren't I? I like being in the way though, because I'm a dickhead. But, anyways, our primary usage is to denote a past perfect tense in a verb sentence. Now, there is a bit of overlap here because you could also just think of it as something in the past, but obviously, we also have the particle I, which obviously also means the past. But we have some specific factors for using kua. First one being, obviously, it denotes that the action itself is like fully completed. Because, for example, you could say like, let's say, for example, you say, I haere o kite toa. I went to the store. Versus, kua haere o kite toa. I have gone to the store. Admittedly, in English, they both sound pretty much the same. And in Māori, they are pretty similar too. And of course, when you get into dialectal matters, as I've written here, in Ngāpuhi at least, and I think a lot of mita that are similar, there is somewhat of a preference to use kua over I, but both still are used consistently. It's just a matter of like, if you can choose one over the other, it's very likely kua will be the one used. However, there is still differences to note, such as it can indicate a more recent past tense than I can. So, for example, if we go back to saying, if we say, oh, kua kai koe, have you eaten? Or if you said, I kai koe, did you eat? That can kind of insinuate maybe if you use kua kai koe, that could be like, oh, you're at like a party and you're asking if they had any food yet. But if you said I kai koe, they could have been talking about like a story or something in the past, and then you're asking, did you eat back then? Sort of feeling. That's at least from what I've read, at least. But yeah. Basically, it means that whatever you're saying has been done. So past tense, but then past perfect specifically because it's a completed task. For our first example here, Ko haka whetai koe ia karahika? Did or have you thanked old man hika? I didn't really know a good way to translate kara into English, so I went with old man. And another example here, Ko pau te uira? The power has run out or gone out. Now, if we were to change that to I, then it really would just be like, did you? Or the power did run out. That would be the difference between like kua and I. That being said, I suppose this specific example I should mention, because kua pau would mean like has been exhausted. But obviously, in English, it just turns into has, which we get into a little in our next point here for why sometimes kua can be used for things that you might think of as a present tense. Specifically here, used for a present tense for something that has just started or is starting right now. Because, along with denoting past perfect, the particle kua can also refer to a state of change. If something has just changed its state in some way. For example, if a tree just fell over, ko taka te rākau, the tree just fell. Or, well, the tree fell. So, for a first example of using it to refer to a present action of something that just started now, ko haere rawa, them two are off, or, going. And here, this is a very common phrase you'll hear, well, at least from more like native speakers or older speakers. They'll either say kua ha te taima or kua ha te wā when they ask what's the time. Now, in English, obviously, it'd be what is. So you're thinking as like, oh, what if you said he aha o kei te aha te taima? Which is still, I guess, kind of correct, but this is the preferred way to ask normally, kua aha. So you can kind of think of it in your mind as what time of day has just begun, or, so let's say kua, so it's just started, because obviously time is like 24/7 changing. That's literally what a clock is. The time changes 24/7. So it's always going to be a new state whenever you say what the time is. So that's why you would say kua'aha for what has the time become, basically. And then now for our last usage. I told you this would be a really fucking short video. Well, I guess this is technically two usages, but kua, when combined with kore, to mean no longer, to express the loss, absence, or destruction or departure of something. Now, what exactly does this mean? Let's get to this. For our first usage, to denote a lack or disappearance of something, specifically in a phrase that would be like, there is no XYZ here, it'll be used followed by he or a possessive. Evidently, I only use examples here because that's what I know better. I didn't actually see any examples that included, like, to or anything like that. But I'm assuming you could probably replace it. But anyways, kua kore he kāinga I te whenua nei. There is no village in this land here. Again, this kind of, in English, it gives a sense of current tense, I guess you could say. But really, we're saying basically, its state has changed to non-existent, which is why it implies a lack or a loss of something, as opposed to just there not being something. Because you could say like, ka hore he kāinga I te whenua nei, to mean there is no village here. But kua kore changes the sentence to feel a bit more like it's lacking, or it's changed to a lack of a village. Then here, kua kore he kumara I te mahinga kai. There's no kumara in the garden. Again, insinuating, mayhaps there should be kumara in the garden, or that something has been destroyed or removed, disappeared. For our second use of kua kore, we use it with a verb to insinuate that something will not go to as planned, or there's been a change of mind. For example, kua kore ahau e tae mai ki tō party. I will not be showing up to your party. So, basically saying like, I don't intend on doing X, or it has become not that I will do this. And then for another example here, kua kore ia e haka utu mai ia hau. They will not be repaying me. So, yeah. This is a lot shorter, thankfully, because there wasn't as many things to exactly go over with kua, which is very good, because a lot of the particles have a lot of fucking usages. But I fear, based off the timestamp I see on my OBS, they still managed to get to 7 minutes at the very minimum. So that's great. I will try to make a video on e ana or e and ana separately, just because I feel like it is kind of annoying, since ana on its own only has like a couple usages, but then e ana and then e have like a fuck ton of usages, so I might combine them together into one video. And then for e, I'll do that as a separate video too. And I guess I can do hey, and that should be all the primary particles I can think that really show up normally. But yeah, if you have any particles other than those you want to see me do, put it in the comment section down below. And make sure to like and subscribe, because I really like it when you do that. And I'll make more videos. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and ka kite.